we finally get another family-friendly summer blockbuster by Steven Spielberg. Not really.
A soliloquy for every movie, from Casablanca, Tommy Boy. He's here, it's him, it's Andrew Todd. It's Andrew Todd.
So I'm going to talk about Disclosure Day wearing 3 separate hats. First, I'm going to talk about it as a film critic, next as a father, and then as a Christian. It has been so much more fun to watch the online reviews for this movie than the movie itself. And one reviewer I want to take special note of is Jester. She does such a good job at pointing out the obvious. She says the things we were all thinking during the movie, but couldn't really fit into words. The idea that everybody's glued to a TV, CNN, or the local weather station when we have iPhones. She did a really good job explaining all that. I'll leave a link down at the bottom so you can check that out. The Spielberg clearly has different types of films that he puts out. I would say this one feels most like Minority Report and wants to be E.T. but isn't quite there. But in the end, it turned out to be as weird as AI, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I have a lot of qualms with this movie. The second act really dragged for me, and the third act didn't ever get much better. In fact, I'll just outright say it. I think the trailer for Disclosure Day was a lot more exciting than the movie itself. The fun was not knowing, but then when I saw it, I wanted to go back to not knowing. It's the classic case of celebrities being so much cooler if you don't know everything about them. If you want Disclosure Day to stay a cool movie, just stick with the trailer. For as much as I'm going to complain about this movie, I will say that Emily Blunt is brilliant in this movie. Call the search off for the best actress of the year because we've already found her. And Colin Firth, as most of us know him as either King George III or the Kingsman, either way, he's a king. He's really good in this movie too, but I just didn't like his character. His character was very one-dimensional and just very, very blah. As is the same for most characters. Nobody really stands out. The characters these great actors are portraying are very flat. Except for Josh O'Connor, I think he was dead weight the entire movie. They needed to blend his character with Emily Blunt. There was no need to have 2 separate people going after the same thing. If it was more the Emily Blunt show than them sharing the stage together, I think that would have helped the movie tremendously. This movie asks the question, how did we get here? And for a summer blockbuster, I think a more exciting question is, how do we get out of here? AKA Jurassic Park or any other movie where our characters are stuck in a situation that they must fight their way out of. I just don't think how did we get here is a very fun theme to explore. Because then you become way too self-serious and you start imposing your own beliefs. That's where you're just going to bump heads with a lot of people in your audience. So those are my thoughts of the movie overall. Super dry with a great action scene, and I mean singular scene, with a great performance from Emily Blunt. Everything else, out the window. Done. I forgot it already. Now, as far as this being a family-friendly Steven Spielberg film, it's not going to be a fun movie to take the kids to. First, I think they're going to get bored. You have to follow these characters in this dialogue that just kind of goes on forever and ever. And honestly, you really don't care about anybody in this movie. And except for like the very end, there aren't any kids in the movie. And I think those are Spielberg's best movies is when he has kids in them. Because we all know that he is the best director of kids. Now, I'm not saying anything, but maybe he's not allowed to be around kids anymore. I'm just throwing that out there. But let's be real. Nobody's telling Spielberg what he can and cannot do. But there's also no humor. There is humor, but it's humor that the kids aren't going to get. It's very subtle. And that's fine. I love subtle humor, but it's not enough to make it a fun, family-friendly film. And I know nobody is claiming that it's a family-friendly film, but typically when we see a PG-13 rated movie, especially with Steven Spielberg attached to it, we're automatically going to think, oh, this will be a fun one for the whole family. Spielberg himself gave me the heads up that I might not want to take my kids to this. He says that this movie is going to challenge your faith.
Yeah, he talked to him.
I wish. Then I'd tell him how bad this movie is and go back and making better movies. Spielberg himself said that this isn't a kid's movie in so many words.
The movie also takes the position of the church. What does this do to the fundamental beliefs that many of us have?
That this movie's going to challenge your faith. No, it's not. If a movie is going to, if a summer blockbuster is going to challenge your faith or get you to question God, then you've got much deeper issues to work through. And this movie does ask a lot of religious questions. One of them being, if there are other entities out there, if there are other galaxies full of aliens or people, whatever you want to call them, then is God still the God of them? If you're at all a believer in God, it's a no-brainer that he's the master of the cosmos. How many times does the Bible itself say that? Also, it's just not a great way to market your summer blockbuster. If I want a religious sermon, I'll go to church on Sunday. If I want to know how the world got here through a fictional story, I would just go to a planetarium. Speaking of fictional story, it's interesting that the movie opens up on a WWE fight. I took that immediately as like the beginning of a book would say this is a work of fiction. We all know that the WWE fights are scripted. it's not real. And it's almost like Spielberg is saying that out front, which is very odd because he seems to be taking this movie and the themes and the beliefs in this movie really seriously. It's just disappointing because my favorite Alien movies have Steven Spielberg written all over them. You have E.T., which is an obvious one, War of the Worlds, and Super 8. He was a producer on Super 8. I love that movie, with an honorable mention going out to Cloverfield. And I like that we have the freedom to play with aliens in those ways. They're friendly, they're evil, they're just monsters trying to get home, they're misunderstood. And with this whole government thing, where they're releasing the UFO files, which I know we're all wanting a whole separate set of files to be released, but that ain't ever gonna happen. People are talking about aliens more, and it's like, what do Christians say? What are Christians supposed to say? We know that there's a God, there's a devil, and there's demons, and there's angels, and there is supernatural. There are supernatural beings, and I don't think it's... Golly, that scared me. Oh, I was thinking of like creepy aliens in my head, and then this hand comes at me. Christians have many different takes on aliens. I know there's a large fraction that believe that aliens are demons. I don't really have a take on it one way or the other. But when Christians are like, no, don't go see the alien movie, and it's going to mess with your brain, it's going to question your belief, I don't buy any of that because the Bible is full of stories of demons, and the Bible does not turn people toward evil. So it's the same. We can use evil to tell stories. That's a whole different subject. The issue I have with this movie is it's just not fun. It takes itself way too seriously. War of the Worlds is a very dark and extremely scary movie, but it still knows what it is. It doesn't try to say that this is the truth, that we're not alone, that there's others out there. It's just telling an extremely fun and horrifying alien movie. Or E.T. is just a story about a boy and his friend Alien. It might as well be a story about a boy and his dog. What happened is that the movie just started getting interesting a minute before it ended. That's where I wanted the movie to actually start. And that was the story I was more interested in. Another qualm I have is I don't buy how people reacted to the disclosure. I felt like it was an old man's idea of what technology does to people. Everybody just stood and stared on their phone. You're not going to go to an airport and there's a major event happening and everybody's sitting and staring at their phone in complete silence. It just didn't work for me. Just like this movie didn't work for me, except for the one action scene in the middle, which you will know it when you see it. We've all heard John Williams be 1,000 times better than this, and I think people are just glad to have him back for a minute. And they're just like, oh, he's back, so it's great. It's not great. I'm not walking out of the theater humming the theme to this movie. I couldn't tell you a single note that was played. So I'm just looking forward to the hype dying down a bunch. I think people will eventually come to their senses. It'll be like the Phantom Menace all over again. Everybody will realize that this isn't the great phenomenon we were hoping for. Anyway, did you see Disclosure Day? Let me know what you thought about it. Hopefully you liked it more than I did. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget... Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next episode. And don't forget to subscribe. It really helps.